For now, I just want you to imagine the brain as this very highly intricate three-dimensional structure that is going to be responsible for an incredible range of functions. And actually, some scientists, they compare it to an organic supercomputer that's going to be processing a vast amount of information. Others like to compare it to a very busy city where the highways will represent the pathways that will carry signals from the body's peripheral nervous system to the brain. And these comparisons can help explain simpler functions, like the reflexes that are going to be controlled by the spinal cord, but they fall short in capturing the immense complexity of the brain itself. If you just think about how uniquely, for example, all of us behave, we have different personalities, we have different intellects, we have different emotions, and each are going to be shaped by this complex organ, which is the brain. And just by thinking about all these different types of unique features that each of us have, it will give you a hint of the brain's vast complexity. However, when you are at the doctor's office and they do that classic knee-jerk reflex test, most of us will respond the same way if the nervous system is intact. For now, we're going to be talking about how the skull will function to protect and support the brain. So let's get started. As some of you might know, the human brain is made of this really delicate tissue. Looks like a gelatin, sort of. And since it's so important for our survival, it needs to be well protected from both the external and the internal injuries. However, the brain can't be completely isolated because it still needs to communicate with the rest of the body. And that communication, though, has to be carefully monitored and sometimes even restricted. So overall, protecting, supporting, and nourishing the brain is a very complex process that involves a lot of different factors. Therefore, it is safe to say that the protection, the support, and the nourishment of the brain involves these four factors listed here: the bones of the skull, the cranial meninges, the cerebrospinal fluid, and the blood-brain barrier. Let's talk first about the bones of the skull. So when we're talking about the skull bones, are we referring to all of them? Well, keep in mind that the skull is going to be divided into facial and cranial bones. And the ones that are in direct contact with the brain are the cranial bones, which makes sense, right? Among those cranial bones, there are two with kind of similar names and tricky names, which are the ethmoid and the sphenoid bones. You can spot a bit of the ethmoid bone here, shown in tan, and the sphenoid, which is yellow and also has a shape like a butterfly, so it's easy for you to recognize it. Aside from these two, there are four more cranial bones. These are the frontal bone in blue, the occipital bone in purple, the temporal bone in orange, and the parietal bones in green. And these bones not only protect the brain from the external injuries, but they also provide the support by housing it inside this protective structure.